it's a Nyapod. Okay, so we have said Nyapod from him.
Special guest I would like to make you aware of. Over at Steve Argyle's booth, if you would like to meet Liliana or Chandra, the models, those cards,
artist being announced here.
Servant of Markov and Draw School Vampire are at Steve Argyle's booth.
Right.
They'll be signing autographs. And
Kibler's deck is actually kind of the way that I like to do the birthing pod decks, where it's like he has. Basically, he's just a regular curve deck. Like, he has a bunch of Blade Splicers, a bunch of Hunt Masters, some Thalias, some Strangleroot guys. He's not, like, all in with the singletons. And then he has a couple targets to go get if he happens to draw a Birthing Pod. But he's not all... The structure of the deck is definitely not all in on having Birthing Pod.
The core of his deck, so we have 4 Birds, 3 Absence Pilgrim, 4 Strangleroot Geist, 4 Blade Splicer, 4 Hunt Master the Thalias.
Right.
Okay, so that's really what we're going. It is definitely a Nyapod deck.
Right.
So
he doesn't have a bunch of
your seats and don't have
his one-ofs that he has access to. At 2 he has some Thalias. At 3 he has a Fiend Hunter, a Daybreak Ranger. At 4 he has Metamorphs and then the Hunt Masters. He has a Vorpede and a Slime at 5, and he has an Inferno Titan at 6. So no Sun Titan. I think that's standard though out of these decks.
Yep. He has 2 pods, 2 Oblivion Rings, 1 Green Zenith, and some lands. Just all red, green, white lands, and then 3 townships. And then the board he has some Grudges, some Rays, some Purges, some Daybreak Rangers, some Heroes, more Thalias. Kibler is also a huge Thalia fan.
Definitely.
A lot of people are huge fans, but Kibler is among them.
So he has the potential for 4 Thalias after board, which they are legendary, right? So
that's pretty awesome against the control decks, and the control decks are going to have to kill them to be able to function. So
okay, Grand Prix competitors.
So I don't know how this matchup breaks down. I don't know
Welcome to round
very
4.
well.
This should be the largest round of the event.
Shane
so far,
probably cannot let
1,100 or
he has
just
to
under
keep
1,100 still playing.
No, he probably just has to play the same matchup as before. The tokens he matchup would be very well positioned against
As I've repeated multiple times, from here on out, if you're at table number 485 or above, that will be upstairs.
Kibler's deck is a little soft
too. Welcome to round 4.
Gear game
you have 50 minutes. You may begin.
So Shane, if he gets, but remember, the only gear he's playing for Stalker are 2 swords and a Batter Skull. So Stalker Pike isn't actually a thing.
Yeah.
Which I think that's good for Kibler.
Shane also has a main deck Surgical Extraction, which I'm actually a pretty big fan of. And again, because it's a singleton, you can find often, and it has a lot of utility in a lot of different spots. So
it's probably pretty weak here, I think.
It's certainly going to hit the bench here, but I know in Legacy Delver, like the Esper Delver list, I'm sorry, not Esper, the Esper control lists with Snapcaster, I'm an advocate of having one Surgical Extraction in that deck.
Absolutely.
Brainstorm makes it a slightly different animal, but so it looks like Kibler's going down to 6 here.
We believe he's on the play. He's on the play, I believe.
Did not get to see who's going first, but yes, I believe so. And it looks like Shane's keeping his 7.
Yeah. So, other than that, though, Kibler. One of the things we're talking about with falling behind. I think one of the bigger issues for Kibler. So Kibler will probably want to keep either a hand with a turn 1 mana creature or a turn 2 Strangleroot Geist every game. I don't think he can't really afford to be going land go. I think he has to have one of those on the first 2 turns, otherwise he will get too far behind.
Right, he has basically 8 mana creatures, for the 4 Strangleroot Geist, and 1 Green Zenith that facilitate him curving into more.
The 2 Talia might count as well, but he's going to want one of those in his opener. There are 2 Gut Shots in Shane's hand, which will certainly burn on a mana creature if possible. Shane actually has 1 Revoke Existence main deck as well, which there are Birthing Pods in Brian's deck, so could be very relevant. And just as I said, Brian starts out on not surprisingly, starts out on a Birds of Paradise.
Bird.
Right, so Shane on a turn 1 Delver, Ponder. I believe there's a Delver spell land in the top.
3 spells in there. The Snapcaster land.
Delver was the 3rd one in there. It's a checklist card. So it's interesting. You can have the Delver, but you can't set it up. He decides not to. I think he's looking for a land.
Yep.
Which is fair. One of the worries about playing Ponder on a land-light hand is that if you need 2 more lands, Ponder doesn't actually help you do that.
Right.
So you always have to watch out with that sort of thing. You know, if you find 1 land in the top 3, yes, you can have it your first turn right away, but then you'll miss your... Eventually, you're still drawing the same 3 cards.
Does he have the gut shot? It's not that. Nope.
He does not. So Brian, chance to resolve
start
something.
doing his thing.
Yeah. And Stranglegeist gets in. So both the turn 1 mana creature and the turn 2 Stranglegeist.
Good start.
Great start. Puts Shane on the back foot here, which...
Yeah, that's the mission. It's a Moorland Haunt, and unless Shane is on some sort of next level bluff here, that probably represents that he's...
That's his last land.
Yeah.
Kibler will be happy, content to not... So we're gonna...
We're just gonna raw dog a Snapcaster and get in front.
Alright. That Brian's probably... Oh,
and the trigger on the side. There's the extraction. Do we have any more guys?
With land, Huntmaster, 2 lands, 2 Huntmasters. Well, I feel like I know what Kibler's post-combat play will be here, and that does not bode well for Shane at all. So what kind of hands do you want to see out of Shane here? I personally would have wanted to see Mana Leak or Delver at the beginning of the game, or at very least Gut Shot.
Yeah,
Gut Shot Snapcaster.
Yeah, this is not a great start in terms of like him having enough action to get ahead on the board here. So
right. I mean, on his board, I would have been fine with a hand of say more lands and a Mana Leak because you could let the Stranglegeist beat you up for quite a while before it becomes relevant. But the resolved Huntmaster, I think, will be a very big issue for him.
This is really bad for him, yes.
And there it is.
Yep.
Kibler at 22. Pretty much all in on this plan, but that's just fine. I don't...
Yep, things are looking very good for Brian. I can't imagine Shane really getting out of this spot.
Shane with a Delver now in his hand. No more lands,
actually,
I don't think.
It does highlight the feature of this Delver deck is just...
And Shane flips the Huntmaster for him. That's...
Once it gets 14. Behind, often it's just like, well, there's no chance of catching up.
Right. I mean, so you look at his list and you say, well, what does Shane need to draw to catch up? And you come to the conclusion of he can't really.
Right, even if he has a land there, like what's he casting? It's like Geist-Sustained Trapped, obviously not great.
And I think Kibler probably plays nothing here. He has no real need to. He doesn't really want to run into a Mana Leak. I suppose he
does.
Yeah, I probably don't play the Huntmaster there, but it's fine either way, really.
Yeah, I mean, the big question mark is just sort of like, because Shane's missing land drops, it's like he's not playing super efficiently. I think there's an argument for just going for it, but there's also the argument on the other end that's like, well, he has to tap out to do something eventually, right? So that you can just land with, right?
Yeah.
Although, I guess if Kibler just says go there, like imagine that's his last right. If Shane even just has like Vapor Snag for Huntmaster.
But if Shane had Vapor Snag for Huntmaster, he probably would have done it the turn before.
Not if he also has Mana Leak in hand. He might be willing to take that hit and then go to the next turn
and then try to... Okay. All right, that's fair. That's good.
There's also like maybe Kibler just had a sense of his body language. Like,
sure, sense of his body language. Or maybe Kibler drew another Huntmaster. Yeah. So knocking Shane down here to 2, which is Kibler does not play. It's now all he'll really have to do is, if Kibler can actually just play 2 spells here, that will probably be game.
No, he's
not going to 2. He's going to... Or did he go to 2 and then snag the token on end step?
I believe so, because I think Kibler just said go.
So he has Mana Leak up. So presumably we can say Shane has Mana Leak in his hand. I'm not sure if Shane's at...
That was during.
Okay, that was during combat.
Inside combat, okay.
Alright, well that takes down Counter Magic, which... And, okay,
I'm
going to Metamorph
for a Huntmaster.
I remember, Metamorph cannot flip here.
Right, it's just locked in.
Daniel O'Leary, if you're in the room, you should be in the other one. Your IQ has started on the 3rd floor.
And there's a wolf for Brian off the top of the screen there. Shane pulling even, but so far behind.
If you signed up for $10 draft number 6, please come on up to the public event stage. We are ready to
he basically...
Once again, $10
even Snapcaster plus Snag doesn't really dig him out.
You know, it's coming back really hard with the deck.
If his Delver flipped, then Snapcaster plus Snag would let him get out of this turn, but he's still in, you know, quite a bit of trouble.
Right. Now he might. Now one thing you have to remember that a flipped Ravager of the Fells has trample here, so I believe with what he's trying to do is not going to work. He's going to be rudely informed that Huntmaster has Ravager has trample, and that should be enough damage.
Right. Yeah, like if Delver flipped, then he would be able to both kill this guy and Snag and trade off. It looks like he just chumped.
That doesn't work. He should be dead.
He's at 4, right?
Ravager of the Fells has trample.
Right, he's at 4.
And there was a wolf on the top of the screen that was attacking too.
No, it was just the Metamorph. That got snagged on the previous turn.
Well, the Metamorph made the Huntmaster. Oh, wait, they made a flipped one. You're absolutely right. My apologies. Okay, so he's at 1. And
Kibler apparently feeling safe that there's no day
that's
adjustment
fine.
in this weird list.
All right, and Shane, not Glacial Fortress Day. No, there's no day of judgment in the list. This should be a concession.
Okay,
so
let's go to the board here. We have 3 copies of Brian Kibler's favorite card on Earth, I believe.
Daybreak Ranger. Daybreak Ranger will almost certainly come in. Interestingly enough, in this matchup, Daybreak Ranger is a lot worse on the draw than it is on the play.
Yes.
Like to the point where he may not bring in the full set.
Well, let's see if he has basically if he has stuff he wants to cut here. I think is the big question mark. Like
probably Vorapede.
Yeah, Vorapede seems like a safe cut. And I mean, other than that, this deck's like pretty lean, I guess.
Right, Vorapede. He may board. Vorapede and Inferno Titan will probably come out.
Yep.
He may board.
At that point, there's an argument for also just cutting your pods, right? Like once you're getting rid of those big bullets.
I would agree with that. I think cutting your pods is probably might be correct as well. You might board it in Incinerates. Ancient Grudge actually is not the worst idea here.
Right.
One of the ways it's a good matchup for you. One of the ways you lose is to a sword. Why not just take that out?
Yep. And he has 2 copies of a card that I actually can't read, so maybe you can.
Ray of Revelation.
No, underneath that.
Incinerate.
Are you sure that's an Incinerate?
I would believe it's an Incinerate. I think he has 2 Incinerates in his board.
Okay, well he might have 2. Maybe he has 2 Incinerates, but.
On the other side, out of Shane, we have Celestial Purge. Probably, I don't know. That seems halfway there. Not too much to offer. He has 2 Phantasmal Image, which can probably come in. They're very good against Strangleroot Geists.
Yep.
Outside that, he also has 2 Mental Misstep, which I actually might board in as well. There's a lot of, with as many mana creatures as Kibler has.
Yes.
So that's all it counters. So.
Yeah, it's, you know, I can see wanting to run the risk or whatever, but if you already have 2, I mean, you have 2 gut shots. I guess, it's another issue of, like, what do you actually have to cut?
Well, you probably will lose the Surgical Extraction.
And the Revoke Existence is a little mopey, too.
Right, he doesn't know that Kibler has Birthing Pods in his deck. He might assume it based on the fact he saw that Blade Splicer at the end there. That was the only thing out of Kibler which I would,
Strangleroot Guys, I mean, they're all those creatures are all those creatures play very well with Birthing Pods, so.
Yeah, you can assume that there's probably Naya Pod.
So yeah, I think still even then the Revoke is sort of like, it's not even necessarily that awesome even if the stars align. He's already gets 1 shot out of his pod, which is already going to generate a ton of value if you get to that point.
Yeah, if he can get the pod down and have creatures to pod and isn't dead, then he's probably then he's ahead. So then he's probably winning.
Right. He has a Dissipate. It's probably fine to bring in, but
not exciting. It's fine.
Yeah, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have any flash freezes or any big aces like that. So
no, nothing of that sort. So Purge being the closest, but that's the wrong colors. Really, he'd want something that purges green cards.
Looks like we're pretty close to being ready to go here.
So in this matchup, would you say that you like Niapod?
Yeah, I mean I'm a big fan of the decks that can just get on the ground running as fast as possible. The way that the Delver deck can kind of catch up from those spots is if your threats just aren't individually good enough. Where like Sword on a guy is enough to pull you back from all the damage your opponent's done. But Kibler's deck also has enough big draws and like powerful plays that he can get ahead early and then also keep up even when the Delver deck starts doing its own powerful stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, I would probably say...
I would basically want to be on the Birds and Elves side of a Birds and Elves versus Delver matchup under most circumstances.
I would agree with that too. Though certainly Delver's a powerful enough deck to overcome that.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure. And you have like Vapor Snag and Mana Leak do really good work at like catching you back up from bad spots or getting you out from jams when there's a good threat on the board. And certainly the deck's raw power is also super high, so there's that too. But yeah, in general, I'm not a huge fan of I'm not a big fan of most matchups on the Delver side of things when your opponent can get off to a faster start than you can.
Right. I mean, as we saw there, Delver's game plan of get ahead and stay ahead. Well, he never got ahead, so he couldn't.
Yep.
So Shane, I think in this matchup then has to be careful of the style of hands he's keeping. Last time he kept hand, I think, with just clearly not enough action.
Yep. Tight on mana and too reactive, and he just got blown out.
I think if his hand was flush on mana leaks, it would have been okay.
Yep.
But it wasn't.
All right, Kibler's going back again. For those of you who are curious, I know there's probably some of you out there, Philo and Perry's What You Came Here For is the official Brian Kibler song for this GP. So there's that too.
All right.
Obviously looking fashionable with his jacket and scarf combo, even though it's like 75 degrees out here. Definitely no need for a scarf, but it's not just about function.
No, scarves definitely not.
Very dapper.
Do we see, is someone mulliganing?
Yeah, Kibler's going back,
okay,
yeah.
Kibler's on 6.
So yeah, I got an opportunity to go out on the town last night. Like, went to the Jazz game. Salt Lake is a pretty sweet place. I mean, it's definitely a city, but if you are familiar, like, if what comes to your mind is like this rough urban environment, is like not at all what Salt Lake is. And plus, there's just a view of the mountains like everywhere you're looking around. Like, it's pretty
beautiful,
very impressive. Yeah. I guess it's the lake or whatever. But something makes the air smell a little weird, and that was sort of the only thing that I noticed. I was like,
the first thing I noticed actually when I got to the downtown.
All right, turn 1 Delver out of Shane. Yeah. Kibler happy with a 6.
I'd say that all the streets in downtown Salt Lake City are very, very wide, to the point that they're all 4 lanes both ways.
Fancy.
And flipping it, just raw, just flips it. And that's one of the most terrifying things out of Delver is when they can just, you know. Say for example, if Shane's hand is 3 mana leaks.
Not quite revealing the mana leak, but it's close.
I mean, it's close. If that happens, there's very few plays that actually get Kibler out of this. No early plays.
Kibler has Incinerate in his hand,
Yep. And he's going to wait till
upkeep.
On the
upkeep. Yep. So the reason to cast it on the upkeep is if Shane has something to protect it, say a mana leak, or he wants to snag it, it forces him to use the mana on his own upkeep, as opposed to on Kibler's turn where it's basically free. So yeah, basically...
He's going to snag his own Delver. That's okay. I mean, I guess ideally Shane would have like a Geist of St. Traft here instead and let his Delver die.
Alright, so we're all casting a Gitaxian Probe. This is revealing a hand of a very good hand for Kibler. He has a Plains, an Oblivion Ring, a Daybreak Ranger, a Birds of Paradise, and a Huntmaster. So just a very good curve of stuff.
Right. Shane probably will back up and assume the more protecting role. Like
right, because all of Kibler's threats are individually so good, and the Oblivion Ring prevents him from taking too aggressive.
So probably how Shane will play this is that he'll try to counter spells, and he doesn't have a counter for the Daybreak Ranger.
Well, he might have another snag.
So hopefully he'd have a lot of mana leaks, and then get a Delver out there. But Kibler will obviously want to see that.
Another snag here for Shane would be gigantic.
Yeah, I still don't know if I like the play of snagging his own Delver there.
It sort of depends on what the other contents of his hand, which
we don't know.
All right.
Delver does not flip, so. I believe Shane has a second Delver in his hand.
It's arguable if you even want your Delver to flip anyway.
Right.
Because of I mean, he could also be trying to set up Snapcaster plus snag and then flip.
Sure, that actually seems pretty good. So yeah, he'll Vapor Snag the Daybreak Ranger.
So it's so he must have had Snag in his hand before if he didn't reveal it. So I'm not sure why he wouldn't Snag right away.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure. Run it out again. So this is the call. Does Shane have Mana Leak? Yes or no? No is the answer. Kibler with no 4th land yet for his Huntmaster. He does still have an O-Ring and a Birds, so the Birds is in some way a 4th land. So ideally, now when Daybreak Ranger flips, it's is it still green or is it multicolored?
I believe it's
still green, so like a Sword of War and Peace is not a good play here.
Right.
He's going to Surge.
Extraction still in the deck.
He's gonna. I don't really like the Extraction still being in the deck. I don't.
Right. I mean, I guess it's there primarily for Strangleroot Geist.
That's yeah.
But you're probably not going to be in a position where you're blocking that guy very often anyway. So.
It just seems like Shane is light on answers with this hand.
Yep.
And so going back to how Delvers in hands that are light on answers, you want to be heavy on threats because you have to have one or the other. And I don't feel like he is right now.
Yeah, I mean certainly Surgical Extraction is neither of those two things. So.
Right. And he's going to flip Kibler's Daybreak Ranger for him, it looks like.
No, the Surgical.
Was he saying go? I thought he just made that.
Oh, no. Yeah, he definitely has to avoid flipping it.
Yeah, but he does not. Oh, no, sorry, he was an Extraction, so it's not flipping it. But Kibler is fine not flipping his own guy. He'll just play out enough mana, really, and very strong board for Kibler. And he does have the Mana Leak.
I don't know why he's flipping. Okay.
He's excited to have his Delver flip, though not really
for a brief moment in time.
And then no plays, so Kibler going to be off to the races.
He has to trigger the flip and then shoot his guy.
Right. So at this point, the interesting thing is that Kibler doesn't really need to resolve anything else. So the fact that Shane has finally got up his wall of counterspells, the fact that he's behind up on the board is going to be really problematic for Shane. It's one of those situations where once you get behind, Daybreak Ranger is very good. It's a little slow in the matchup, but very powerful, and it should really carry him through. So Kibler attacking for 5. Shane's comping, he has a Moorland Haunt play. He can trade with the Avacyn's Pilgrim. But once again, the real thing he needs to do is answer everything Kibler does, and that's not possible right now. So Shane's contemplating his play, whether to haunt or not. Yeah, I don't know. Shane, remember, the one thing to note is that Shane does have 1 Batter Skull in his deck, and that's probably be the singular best draw for him at this point. But. So. All right. And we have still deciding on this attack. I think we're going to get some sort of warning of some sort. Shane's got to make a move, though. His moves all look pretty... Once again, yeah, he's going to need to survive until he finds his Batter Skull. That's probably his best way to get ahead. He can also similarly get a Geist, hook up a Geist and a Sword, and that might be another out for him. And, okay, both players are actually pausing for a judge call, is that correct? Okay, so we're not taking on attack, a judge has been called. We'll have more details with you in just a second for that. So yeah, we'll have an explanation with it for you in a sec. Both players paused. All right, we have some more information.
Yeah, I'm not 100% positive, but I believe there was some... when Kibler used his Daybreak Ranger, to kill the insect apparition. I don't think that works in the rules correctly, because basically Shane's Delver of Secrets triggers the optional reveal triggers. Then Kibler's Daybreak Ranger, did you play 2 or more spells, triggers. So
Kibler played a spell that turn though.
He played 2. What I'm saying is he played the 2 mana creatures, right?
Was his creature a 4/4 or a 2/2 at that time?
He had a Daybreak Ranger that he had played the previous turn. And
Was
then
it 2/2?
Kibler played 2 mana creatures and said go.
Right, so it's going to stay a 2/2.
Players,
Daybreak
registration.
only-
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I had to flip
Now
over the wrong.
open. The first 72
Oh,
players
it's
to
no spells
register
for the
will get
turn.
to
That's right.
play
Yeah, I'm sorry.
A sealed deck tournament
So it's-
with one
Yeah.
pack.
Okay, so
Everything
they'll probably just be
legal
they'll
and
resume.
standard.
We imagine, or
Yeah.
Okay.
I had the two flip overs confused, right?
Okay.
Because what I thought was going on was like Kibler's Daybreak Ranger triggers before the guy's reveal triggers.
So then yes, it
you
would
wouldn't
be.
be able to shoot. Right. Okay.
In which case you'd have to fight it instead of
Right,
shooting
yeah,
it.
sorry.
Which he
Well, he didn't have a red mana up at the time, so it would
so
have been.
that
3
is
damage
relevant
or whatever.
then. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but anyway, so Shane deciding to Moorland Haunt. So I said before, yeah, and trade with the Pilgrim here.
Yep.
Which is fine. He's going to have to answer Daybreak Ranger. The
Yep.
Pilgrim's really not. And Kibler actually is just gonna Township.
Yep.
Didn't notice the Township. That's very bad for Shane. It kind of Shane's best out was a batter spell at this point, but I'm not sure that's an out anymore.
Doesn't even know that. Right. He can just fight the germ. So.
Yeah.
A very commanding position, and now Kibler just has to, even though there's no Day of Judgment, that's basically the only thought process he has going on now is like,
is there a Day of Judgment?
Yeah, but
well, remember, Kibler still has Blade Splicer, Huntmaster of the
oh yeah, he's got leftovers for days, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I think we'll likely see an end here in 2. What do you think still in Shane's hand? What we knew is that he kept a hand with a Delver and some Vapor Snags, and we really haven't seen much else.
Yeah, it's weird because like the Daybreak Ranger actually shouldn't be locking out a ton of his action. Oh, there it is.
Oh, so just more
league.
lands.
Yeah.
Okay. So he kept a very land heavy. It looks like feels like he kept a 5 land, maybe a hand of 4 lands, Vapor Snag, Delver, Surgical.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure I like, and Delver's a very difficult matchup in that deck to play, in that you have to really be aware of every matchup in your sideboarding plans.
Yep. So, yeah, Shane's deck is actually fairly robust against Daybreak Ranger as far as these things go because he has Geist and Invisible Stalker.
Right.